morning. Good morning. Maybe this thing is so slow in the mornings. Obviously, the thing hasn't had coffee either. There we go. Good morning, everyone. I am Stacy. This is Loving My Veteran, and we are walking in my shoes this morning. I hope everyone is having a good morning. Let me get some coffee in. I always feel better with a few sips of coffee in here. Gosh. Let's go through here. Good morning, Sarah Kim. Good morning, Pam. Today's topic is protection. And I'm not talking about like the Trojan kind, okay? I'm talking about protection. And there's a lot that we do to protect ourselves. There's a lot that we have to start putting in place to protect ourselves. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but as the events keep unfolding in this world, and I'm not speaking on political sides one against the other. Good morning, Jennifer. I'm not speaking on one side against the other. Yeah, you know me already. Um, but when you read things that anybody in office says that no amendment is absolute, you do realize that puts our veterans in a total tailspin. It puts most of us as Americans in a total tailspin. And so our veterans have become back to this war fighting mentality. This how do I protect? The it all starts. Good morning, Sarah. It all starts rolling back into their lives. How do I protect home? How do I protect my family? You know, because here's the difference, and this is a huge difference for us and for them. Their battle buddies aren't here with them. When they fought wars, everybody who was with them was trained, and they all kind of knew what was going on, and they all kind of got it, and so that was their sense of protection. And now there's us, you know. We are that sense of protection back and forth. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to get a whole lot on this topic because we're going to talk about self-protecting as well today. But people don't understand why they are in a tailspin. You know, all of 2020, I think we all kind of knew that they were spinning. It was spiraling. The issues with PTSD were getting higher and higher. We all knew that. I mean, that was not a secret. We talked about it many times on here. They're just out of control because they're watching what happened in this country happen like they were in other countries. Then we had the whole election political let's sling mud nonsense going on. Now we have, you know, issues about gun control and hate and all this stuff going on. And it doesn't matter what side of that fence you sit on. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you sit on politically. But the minute somebody goes in and and says that the Constitution doesn't matter, that the amendments to the Constitution don't matter, it is totally putting them in a place. Now, I understand we all try to keep them off of the news, but there is literally no way, unless they live in a bubble, that they're not getting part of that information. So, the very thing they defended, the very thing they protected, the very thing that they came back injured, injured from, the 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 pain and the suffering that they brought back in their minds when the thing they swore to protect. Good morning, Melissa. The very thing they swore to protect is now being questioned. I mean, and I don't care what amendment you change. There are provisions in the Constitution that's how you do it, and I think they all see that. You know, they did prohibition and they brought it back, so it, you know, kind of did its thing, but it had to be done legally. And whether you wanted to drink during prohibition or not, you just don't go in and randomly change the laws. They were done, they were ratified, then it was reduced and overturned, but they were ratified and they were done legally. But when somebody says the amendments don't matter, that takes everything they fought for. and flushes it down the toilet. And again, I don't care what side of that fence you sit on. If somebody said that to these people, men and women who defended and protected the Constitution, that's what they swear when they go into medicine. They swear in. That's what they do in that oath. So protection mode is where they're at now. They have a constitution to protect because you don't unbecome a warfighter. You don't unlose your patriotism. You don't unlose that at the core of your belief. That doesn't just go away. You might be angry, but that doesn't go away. You know, there was a time that there was a movement that a lot of our military were talking about becoming, former military were talking about becoming expats and leaving the country. And it's strange because that movement was talked about, and then all of a sudden these guys woke up and said, we're not leaving what we were sworn to protect and defend. And so now we're protection. They are thinking about protecting the Constitution. They are thinking about protecting the country. They are thinking about protecting home, us. And you wonder why they're not engaging. You wonder why they're distant. You wonder why that there is more and more of where are you going, what are you doing, when are you going to be back, those kind of things going on in their life. Let's just smell the coffee here. We have to understand their mindset to understand the dynamics of our relationships. We have to understand those mindsets. So now we got where they're at, but how do we protect us? And I'm not talking necessarily physically protect us, but how do we emotionally protect us from what they see? From what they see. How do we emotionally get ourselves wrapped around their change based on what they see? Because this is really about us this month. This is about weathering that storm. How do we protect us? Number one, we absolutely have to listen. You absolutely have to listen. I don't care if it is the song that never ends. When they start going on about whatever topic, you need to listen. It may be something that they have repeated 20 times, 30 times, frustrated about. You absolutely have to listen. Morning, Erica. So I'm with you. He knows everywhere I am all the time. But you absolutely have to listen to them when they're talking about how they feel. Right? They're not sitting there with their buddies. They are sitting there with you, and you have become this unit in this chaotic nonsense that's going on in this world. Right? They don't live under a rock. I know almost zero veterans who have ever said with what's going on that they're not concerned about it. Oh, don't worry about it. I know almost zero who have ever said that. So you have to listen to them. It will do two things. One, it lets them get things out, which is super important. It lets them think that you're coming on to the same plane, and you hear their passion and you understand, and you hear their frustration, so you kind of understand where they're at. It is super important that that happens. And you cannot let this bottle up inside of them. Good morning, Nakia. You cannot let this bottle up inside of him. Right? You can't do that. Because when it bottles up inside of them, it explodes. So we have to this is how we're going to protect us. You have to let them vent about the situations of the world. Because I'm telling you, when we hear those things like no amendment is absolute and I don't have to follow it, I don't care which president said it. I don't care who said it politically. That is the most horrifying thing ever. And for me, it's horrifying. For me and my mindset, it's horrifying. And I think for a lot of us, we look at what's going on in this country and in this world, and we ourselves get worked up. But we don't want to have this conversation with our veteran because God knows we don't want to work them up. Right? So now we're back into this explosion. And when I'm talking about protecting ourselves, we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it with them. We have to talk about it with each other. When you feel in this place, you have to talk about it. Y'all know I grew up in Yorktown, Virginia. That is where the British troops surrendered to George Washington so this country could begin on that day, October the 19th. That's the day the surrender happened. So you know how I feel about this country. You know how I feel about the fight that we went to get here. Y'all know that. And when I see things like the amendment doesn't matter and the Constitution doesn't matter, it sickens me. I don't care what's in the. I do care, but if the whole society as a whole says this should be a constitutional amendment and it is ratified like it is supposed to be, and it is the law, whether I agree with it or not, it happened legally, and I'm good with that because that's what we put in place for our country. But these guys are watching it all be melted away. We're watching it. Of course, our anxieties are higher. Of course our anxieties are higher. Then you have the veteran who's on the other side, who he wants to leave. He wants to go away. He wants to shut down and move. And good morning, Susan. And it happens. Okay? And it happens. Yes, honey, it does let them process it. It is letting them vent or letting them talk is huge. They have to feel listened to. And sometimes they push us away because they think if they push us away, that they can stay focused and we're not part of it. Mike wants a new gesture. Carl wants his own island. I'm just saying. But they feel like when they push us away, that they're protecting us from this stuff, and they're not. We have to be inclusive in this. We have to be inclusive. What else can you do to self-protect? Self-protect your own mind. You got to find your happy space, even if it's 5 minutes. You have to find your happy space, even if it's 5 minutes. I am not a war fighter. I have never been a war fighter. I'm never, well, I'm not saying I'm never going to be because somebody comes up here and tries to do some stuff there. All right? That's right. Exactly right, Nikki. Every soldier lying in Arlington. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to do whatever it takes to be with my man and be protected in my own mindset. But we have to protect ourselves. We need to not blow them off. We need to start listening. We need to become educated in what they're saying. They have a plan. I assure you, you guys understand when we go to Walmart and they go to Walmart with us, they know how to get in, how to get out, every entrance, every exit, and where to hide for safety, right? You are aware of that. That is the moment they walk into the Walmart. They have scoped that out. They know entrance, exit, where people could come from, and how to get us to safety. They know that, and where potential people could be hiding that are detrimental. They know that. So if they know that going to Walmart and they start to see the world devolve, what do you think they know about our own homes? They know that about our own homes. They know where to go, where to defend, where we need to be, what we need to do. They know that. A lot of veterans and spouses, the spouses of veterans are saying, he's becoming very demanding to the children. He wants to know where my kids are, what room they're in. When they tell him to go somewhere, he expects them to go right then, right there. And it's creating turmoil in the house. Protection mode. Protection mode. Am I saying that the delivery is always the best? Absolutely not. But when you start putting yourself in their mindset, it lets us see things in a better light. Doesn't mean we have to agree with it, but seeing things in a better light. Okay, so what happens is when they say, I need you to go to your room, they don't want to your kids, they don't want the back talking, they don't want the arguing, they don't want the stomping on your feet, because they're in this protection mode, and they need to know that if something happens right this minute, when they say go, they're gonna go. That's why they do it. Because you clean. Natalie, I'm telling you, they see it. It's protection mode. And we don't understand this. So we go out and do just what you did, clean the car by yourself. You get bitched at. Now you're mad because you got bitched at because you cleaned the car by yourself. But think about where your husband is. He's a police officer. He already sees all the things devolving around him. He already knows that, first of all, as a police officer, period, which all of y'all whose husbands have gotten out and have become police officers, I respect you. Because we already know that first responders are targeted anyway. Right? We've always done that. So we always know that. So he is very protective. I literally walked out of the bathroom with our 4-year-old in the tub, and he was seeing me, and he'll holler at her and ask her if she's doing good. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Protection mode. We're not thinking sometimes that there's strange and bizarre behavior, this obsessiveness with us, this wanting to know where we are all the time, them not sleeping, looking out the windows, being on edge. We just think it's like, here we go again. But it is protection mode. It is protection mode. There is absolutely no veteran that I know of right now that would say they would not pick up a gun and defend this country right this minute, and they would go to war right this minute, regardless of their mental or physical health, because I assure you, Richard would. And it is all about us becoming more aware of protection mode. He is obsessed with you, Stephanie, just not the way you think. And we're going to talk about this too. Why you brought this up, we're going to talk about this too. All right, y'all. Y'all know that I made it very clear last night that I have zero filter. Y'all already know that. So let me just tell you this. When we talk about the sex stuff that goes on in relationships and in lines, for those moments that they are engaged in the sexual moment, okay? They are mentally into you, physically into you. That moment is about y'all. But when they are so obsessed with being aware of their surroundings, they are afraid that those moments with you will distract them from protection. Okay, now I gathered that. but so did y'all comprehend what I just said on that one? When they get in this hypersensitive mode, and y'all, again, I don't care about your political beliefs, but I'm telling you, when you watch what's happening and you see what's in the news and you watch them shrug over the little stuff, because it comes into their life somewhere, whether it is for rumors, whether it is for whatever, okay? You're right, okay? You don't get it until it happens to you. But what happens is when they get into, they know, and they were taught, and they were trained. They were trained, don't think about your family at home. If you think about your family at home, you're going to die. Okay? No TV on, no noise. Yeah. Because they're afraid they'll miss something. They were trained, don't think about your family at home. They were trained, don't do this. They were trained, the minute you lose focus on the mission, somebody's going to die. So when you get into the sex and the intimacy of that point, remember their brain is away from their focus. Their brain is away from their focus, and they fear that. I know it sounds like, oh my God, Stacey, you're making an excuse. I'm telling you, I'm not. When I've had heart-to-heart conversations, and it's amazing how many veterans will open up to me, because I was quite impressed. I didn't think they'd do this, but how many veterans open up to me and tell me their stories. And it's very enlightening when you hear that they get that. I know, right? We all want to be Nakia in her strength. I never met a woman like her in my whole life. She's our hero. But that has a lot to do with that intimate time. But it's our protection mode. So what we've talked about what do we do? Listen to them. Be aware of your own surroundings. Be aware of your own surroundings. Listen to their concerns. Is it a pain in the ass to text them? If I go to town by myself, which is very rare, by the way, but if I ever go to town, and usually it's 5 miles up the road to grab milk because that's our closest store. If in those 5 miles, I go up the road to grab milk, do you know that Carl will call me 3 times probably? 3 times probably. It is, and it's not that they do. Stephanie, when they don't open up and share those concerns, when they don't open up and share those concerns, you just you might do a Sunday check-in, and maybe just you and him need to take a few minutes somewhere and just sit down and say, hey Mike, I'm concerned about what's going on. I'm bothered by what's going on, and if I'm bothered, I know you have to be, and leave it alone. Because a lot of times they don't want to tell you what they're bothered by because they don't want to bring it into your lap. So they don't share those concerns. But if you initiate that conversation, I'm bothered, I'm concerned, I'm afraid at times, then how is he supposed, you know where I'm going with this? It is the stimulus that starts the conversations. I look at, and especially where you're living, when people live in hot areas, and that right now with the whole Major League Baseball nonsense thing going on, and whether or not you got to have an ID to vote and all that stuff, there is so much turmoil where you live and where Pam lives that I would think that things are more heightened in your two situations than where we live out in the country. I would have to believe that. I don't know because I'm not there, but there's so much more turmoil in those areas that are bringing in way more than just the other. I don't know why he thinks he has to send me something from the TikTok. Carl uses the TikTok as the news, just so y'all know. I'm just putting that out there for you. He does, but he runs it all the time. But I think that those are the things we have to be aware of, and that's how I would start the conversation. Stephanie would be Mike, I'm concerned. This has me on edge. Yeah, when the riots were happening last year, because that was active. It was actively going on, and of course your husband's got his job that keeps him way involved in a lot that's going on. But you guys are way worse off than I would think mentally, because we've talked about where we live, and how comfortable he is where we live versus when we lived in Savannah. We're kind of in a neighborhood, but it's more like a fish camp community. But every single person down the road, it is like, I got this, and I've got this for protection. I've got this, so we've kind of become our own thing. Okay, we've kind of become our own little thing, and so he's way more comfortable. But I would definitely think that living in that market where you guys are, especially when there's controversy that's brewing, just makes it worse. Just has to make it worse. So, just again, be aware of their protection mode, because that's what's going to protect you and your relationship. Be aware of protection mode. It's what will protect you in your relationship. You have to realize, and as much as I don't want to say this, you have to realize that while we are not, I love you, you're the best. We can't buy anything at this point. Georgia's kind of locked down unless you already have a permit. Georgia's kind of locked down. Actually, the FFL, you can't even get the FFL site. It's taking 10 to 14 days. But just be aware. Be aware of your self protection. Be aware of where you are. Be aware of communication lines. Be aware of the things that are important. Carl laughs at me because we have enough food in this house for a year. But that was the thing I could do. And the thing is that he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. He doesn't have to worry about that. He used to. He used to really flip out and was like, well, what if he could eat MREs? Well, when he found out MREs are $25 a pop, he like to have had a heart attack. And so when I started buying the stuff, he just all of a sudden it took a whole level of stress off because we literally probably have enough food for a year. Now I'm not saying it's like ribeyes, but it really did help. It really did create less stress in our house. So protection, you just have to understand that these events, they see it, it's devolving. When you watch the international news, all the places they went to develop a certain outcome, we're all going backwards there. And so again, they felt like everything they did was in vain, and not just what they did. I think this is the part that you have to really understand. It wasn't just what they did; it was the lives that were lost while they were there. And so they get in this mindset of the lives that were lost, the lives that were lost, why they were there, because of something dumb. And we stopped watching the news too, but they still get it. I mean, they still hear it. It's still coming through somewhere, and they still hear it. And most of them have independent news sources that they're utilizing that are not national news, that they kind of trust. But how do you lose all these people protecting an oil well, and now we're giving the oil well back to whoever we protected it from? It is very hard. And I think it's very difficult for us to understand the lives that were lost almost in vain. And it's hard. And when you see all these things come in and do, it kind of makes your eyes open up and make sense. It even makes me go back to think about a friend of mine who fostered a child since birth. Him and his wife were given this baby from the moment it was born. They were 24 months in, and they were going for the final adoption. The morning they were leaving to go, the caseworker came and said, the parents have changed their mind, they're going to exercise their parental rights, and they took this child from this person's arms. So here for 2 years, they had raised this baby because the baby was born a junkie and nobody wanted it for 2 years. And then because lo and behold, they go to some whatever, they decide they're going to be parents now and we're going to give them back. And the heartbreak. And I think that the same mindset has to be that our veterans feel. How many times were they deployed? How long were they separated? How many of their friends and their buddies died? How many were severely injured? How many of that happened? And now they say, oh, well, everything you fought for, everything you believed in, and everything we told you that you should have believed in over there, we're changing our mind now. Thank you. Snatch that baby out of their arms. I think that's the same mindset. Yeah, you do have such a different perspective. And on a different note, because I could get so wrapped up in this conversation, and this conversation just infuriates me more and more. I just wanted y'all to see protection in protecting ourselves and protecting them in their mode of protecting us. Just spend a few minutes in their head. Just understand now why they're so possessive. Okay? Just understand why they want to know everything. Just understand why when they say, I need you here, and you don't go there right away, why they get a little freaked out. Just understand that, because it will protect your family, but it's going to protect your relationship. When you understand that, and on a very positive note, which was a tearful positive note, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Jeremy last night went to the moving Vietnam Wall, and while he was there, the first thing he thought of when he pulled out of the driveway was Nakia and Richard. And he went and did the rubbing for Nakia and took pictures, and that's what's posted on Jeremy's personal page, and I'm going to ask him if he'll share them to ours as well. And he is sending Richard and Nakia the rubbing. I think all too often, and Carl and Jeremy both said it last night, all too often we get wrapped up in our veterans, our era of veterans, our era of veterans. Y'all realize those Vietnam veterans paved the way for our era of veterans. They paved the way. All we talk about is Iraq and Afghanistan and Baghdad. We don't talk about what they went through in Vietnam. We don't talk about that. And I think sometimes we miss that boat, because they were the ones who set up the VA system to even get what we're getting now, is because of those veterans. The sacrifices they made. Nobody even wanted them home. That was the most horrible experience. So those veterans, those spouses, those caregivers, those people who are now dealing with horrible side effects of some of the things that went on. My heart was breaking today when I was reading in another group that a spouse was sitting with her husband praying that the Lord took him, because he ended up with Alzheimer's and several other really horrible illnesses from Agent Orange. Praying for that. And the next post down was somebody who said, "My veteran's being mean to me today. I just wish he'd leave and die." And I'm thinking, wow, sister, you have missed the boat. So now that I'm on my political thing, Nakia, again, thank you for being the one who blazed the trail for the rest of us, you and your entire generation of wives, and people who have stood behind your veteran. Please give Richard a hug and a kiss from us and tell us thank you again for what he did for us and our veterans. So please, you just give him a hug. I know you won't give him a kiss. Just give him a hug for me and tell him thank you for what he did for us and what that entire group did for us. And to the rest of you, I love you. It's been a long week. We have so much coming on. Next Thursday night, Shepherds will be there to discuss on Let's Talk TBIs. Huge deal. We really need to be on that. He's going to talk about it in a totally different way, and some really good therapies are out there that don't necessarily involve drugs. That will be on. Don't forget, the 29th, we're going to do the movie Medicating Normal. It is exactly what we need to be on to. I know Nakia No Kiss, just because he want me cheap for me. We're going to do Medicating Normal. It is really powerful movie. It will open your eyes, and there are absolutely no triggers in that movie. Again, I will state that again. There are no triggers in that movie. And then we're going to have a panel discussion afterwards, so we can talk about the medications, treatment plans, how it affects the families, all of it. Will all be on the 29th. So that is where we are. Lots going on. I think I put out the link the other day on some burn pit stuff, like you're experiencing allergies and whatever. They need to get that done. It's coming from the VA. It's some presumptive ratings, so please get on that if you haven't. If your veteran was burn pit era, please go to burnpit360.org and get registered. in the burn pit stuff. And I'm going to tell you, this is critical. I push this a lot. I know y'all get tired of hearing me say that, but what they found was when they went back in after Vietnam and looked at the Agent Orange situation, they had all these people come in and saying, oh, it's Agent Orange, and they were. I'm not disputing that. But the VA wasn't prepared for all of this stuff to come out. And so what happened is now they are doing the burn pit registry, and they're kind of pushing it but not kind of pushing it. If you're not registered in that burn pit registry by a specific time, and the VA wants to go in at that point and acknowledge burn pit injuries, you will not be covered. So it is critically important you get your veteran on the burn pit registry. They don't want people coming when they get their million or however many it was. They want to say, oh, this is the number, and they're not going to do anybody past that. So get in the registry. I cannot tell you enough how important that is to get in that registry. Amazing what happens with people, just flipping amazing. And how this goes on. And by the way, our veterans are not disposable. One more time, they are not disposable. We have the bracelets. I'll get a mail the ones that were already ordered out. Bracelets are online on web on the pages. If you want the bracelets, there's a PayPal setup so you can do those. I'm gonna mail those out today. The ones that have already been ordered. Thank you so much. And I'll put the pictures on again. But these lovely little Loving My Veteran cups. Love it, love it, love it. Melissa and her husband are doing them, and they have the exclusive they have the exclusive rights to these, so it is there. But make sure they are registered. Like Nakia said, do it now. Burnpit360.org. Get them registered. Get them registered. I cannot tell you enough. I'm probably going to ask Rosie and her husband to come on to one of our Let's Talks and really discuss burn pit and burn pit injuries, because they are way bigger than what people think. They're respiratory, they're mental, there's so much more going on from that exposure as well. That's it. Y'all have a blessed weekend. I have a lot to do today. Enjoy your time. Stephanie, again, thank you for our Wednesday stuff that you do. Sarah, I'm going to email you that other stuff. Now, Sarah has 118 videos to upload to YouTube for us, for me, for us. Thank you. It took so much weight off of my shoulders. Y'all have a blessed day. Have a good weekend, and I will talk to you on Monday. Bye.